All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday.
Can you guys hear Mike and can you hear me? Confirm you can hear Mike as well. That's the big thing. I know you guys can hear me for sure. Can you hear Mike in the chat? Mike check.
All right, mic check, mic check. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy New Year 2026.
All right. All right. All right. It looks like we're good. Welcome in, guys. We have the Palantir export on live with us this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Slight echo. Don't know why there's an echo today, guys. I don't see why there'd be an echo, but I'll take a look at it. Maybe it's something on my end. Anyways, I hope you guys had a nice Tuesday. Is it bearable or is it very minimal? Yes, people say someone just said it. Okay, good. So we're good. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so guys, we have a lot to go over this morning. It's 8:37. We are running late. We are tardy right now. So because we are tardy, we have no room for any tomfoolery this morning. We need to just jump right into our charts. We have a lot to go over. Econ data, earnings reports, big things happening today. Wednesday has some data today. Our charts today look great, so we'll talk about that in a moment as well. What's behind me here? What is this? Oh, this is my Discord. Let me close it out. And we're going to go over our charts. Obviously, the big thing today's session is going to be what's going on the SPY chart. The market's pushing highs. The market's pushing a new all-time high here pre-market, and this is interesting, right? This is a very interesting pre-market session, and we're going to talk about it, right? This is a very important level here at 691. This is the level that Mike and I were shorting yesterday here on SPY, and the market's holding above it now. So let's talk about what this means for the market and where the market's going to today. Okay, we'll go over the QQQ chart, triple Qs. We'll go over the levels here on Qs. QQQ actually not at all-time high here, so we're gonna have Mike talk about the levels here in Qs as well. We're gonna go over Nvidia. Nvidia, a little bit of lackluster action here. A name that I usually spend a lot of time trading has not really been doing much, right? But Apple, on the opposite side, has been so weak. So it's a very interesting start to 2026. You have some of the strongest names in the market for 2025 are not participating in this 2026 rally. And Apple is one of them. Apple is selling off yesterday, actually closing red, and this morning is gapping down. It's a gap down this morning, technically. A technical gap down in the market while SPY is gapping up. So we'll go over that as well. We'll go over Amazonian, Scamazon. This was the chart from yesterday's session. I think, Mike, you were watching the same exact thing here in Amazon. Incredible move yesterday. So we'll talk about this today, and we'll have a nice pre-market session. So before I do anything, let me jump into my econ data earnings reports, and then we're going to shift away quickly right back to our charts. So let me just close this out. Where it is, there it is. Okay, cool. So today's session is Wednesday, the 7th of January. This morning, we have ADP data about 20 minutes ago. Okay, ADP data that has come out already. Market has already responded to that data. Besides that, we have factory orders at 10 o'clock. We have ISM services at 10 o'clock, and we have some 10:30 data as well. So some things in the mix today at 10 o'clock, right? That's what it is. Some things in the mix at 10 o'clock today. Tomorrow, Thursday session, we have data. And then Friday, the big data, the colossal data, the megalodon data, right? That's where the big thing happens. 8:30 in the morning. We have our employment data on Friday, the 9th of January. Okay, earnings reports. Bam, bam, bam. That's what it is. Okay, you guys know what that means. So let's jump into the charts now. I want to talk about the SPY chart, and I'm gonna let Mike kick off his analysis here on SPY. Mike, go ahead.
All right, all right. So yesterday, Brett and I both took short. Brett took short on SPY, and I took short on QQQ. So I'll talk about the QQQ next. But you guys can clearly see that yesterday was a bullish trend. We just simply took short off of supply 690.5 on SPY, and it was the QQQ 623 level. Today, you may be thinking, oh, well, let me look for a cute little continuation above the previous day high, which is right here, where we're trading right now in pre-market at 692.30. However, what I want everyone to be aware of is just above where we're trading yesterday's high is ES 7000, just above. It's SPY 693. So it's 80 cents away. And I don't want you to take any like huge breakouts above previous day high because we have that massive psychological supply. And it's also, if you look at the ES chart, you'll see on the daily time frame, that was a huge smackdown level from October, right? That's where the market rejected from 7,000 all the way back to 6,600. All right, so this is a very big daily supply, and I don't want to be taking longs over previous day high. The only way you take long today is if we actually build over 7,000 on ES. But my primary watch is actually going to be a short off of ES 7,000, which is SPY 693.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take because basically, if you look at the SPY chart, to me right now, if you purely look at SPY this morning, I want to go long on SPY. Right? If I look at SPY right now, this is obviously a long. I mean, a breakout of all-time highs. It's actually maintaining above the high from yesterday's session, 691. This to me looks like an obvious long. But then you go to ES chart, and ES tells you, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, right? Because you have that big 7,000 ES above us. Here's what I'll say though, right? My view here on SPY. For me, at all-time highs, you want to see failures to go short. I think shorting all-time high becomes difficult. You want to see failures of all-time highs for best shorts. So this is what I'd watch today's session. Is if you look at the market yesterday, right? We shorted 691, right? This is where we went short. We shorted right over here on SPY, and the reason why was because it was supply, right? We had big supply there. Market pushed into it, but it's not just supply that says short. It's the context behind how we respond to that supply, which tells us to go short. So if you guys recall, I shorted SPY twice yesterday, and the first time I got stopped out. The first time I basically got a null trade. It was basically a break-even trade, and the reason why was because we printed rejections here, right over there at my level. I went short, right? I got some move in my favor. Back to trade. Some move in my favor, right? But then eventually we reclaimed it and saw some upside, and then finally here, keep doing that. Over here, this is where the short actually triggered and more downside came in. And again, how did you know that the short was going to happen? Why does that keep happening? How did you know the short was going to happen? Not here, but rather here, right? Well, the reality is you just didn't know, right? Market basically showed you yesterday's session that there was rejections coming in at supply, and it took 2 times for it to work. And this was the trade yesterday, right? Big, beautiful rejection yesterday off the 691s, giving us almost 100% trade back into lows here. But the problem is that if you look back at yesterday's session, yeah, we sold off supply, right? We sold off supply, but the market still held demand. In fact, this was probably the best possible long entry yesterday's session. Was this trade right here at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? And what am I saying here? I'm saying this long entry right here was your best possible long entry. And if you long this, congratulations, because that to me was a great trade, right? I would even argue this trade is equal standing to that short that we had taken at highs. It was an equal trade. This is a beautiful short, and a beautiful long yesterday. Because the reason why I'm talking about a long is when you look at the 15-minute chart, even the 1 hour chart this morning, right? And you take a look at what's going on here in the 1 hour chart. To me, this is still a bull trend here, right? And we've been talking about this bull trend since 686. Remember, we've been saying that. We said, guys, 686 breaks, it's a bull trend. We were bearish at 682, we were bearish at 683, we were bearish at 686, but finally when we broke above it, once we broke 686, we flipped our bias and said we're going back to all-time highs, right? And that's what's happened here, right? We responded to the market, reclaiming tactical levels, and at this point, the SPY chart is still technically bullish. And if you are shorting, you're shorting in an overall uptrend, and you understand that, right? And it's okay to do that. Yesterday, Mike and I did that. We surgically shorted. But again, you have to be an absolute surgeon to catch shorts on SPY, even if we are in supply. Because again, supply is supply, but trend is trend, and you have to sort of put more emphasis on one or the other. And right now, on the SPY chart, it's still trending higher. But here is where I would short today. My best short is going to be under 691. If we can fail below 691, this would be an excellent short side move. We'd be failing below the breakout from yesterday's session, in which case we can look for a downside move, right? This is a trade today, and you don't have to be so surgical about this, right? Transparently, this could be a nice trade today. I would look for this failure to come in for a downside play, right? That's trade number one. Trade number two is the surgical trade that Mike is talking about, which again is totally valid, right? We can watch this, but again, you have to be A tier trader. You have to be getting in at the exact level, look for reactions, and then finally, once you see it play out, then take the trade. And Mike, where is the 7,000 ES? Where would it line up on SPY?
It's by 693.
693. Okay, so 693, and I'm gonna write this out for us too. I'm gonna write this out perfectly just so we all have this. So ES 7,000 is 693 SPY, right? So this is a very important level today, and we must be aware of it, right? It doesn't mean we're going to go in here and be hammerhead sharks and start shorting the first tap of it, but it does mean that if you see some reaction come in, I think it's a good short, right? So let's watch 7,000 ES for rejections, and let's watch 691 for failure. For long side trades, where do you want to long the market? Well, I would long the market today around 689, right? If we can pull like a 689 today and see a nice hold there, that's my long side move today, right? That's my long side trade. That's my Monday's highs. If Monday's highs can turn into support today, I'm looking for longs there as my demand bounce. So again, I want you to understand the market's not just all one-sided short. As you move into all-time highs, you have to look at both directions, right? First, the pullback to demand, and secondly, obviously supply rejections. So let's see what happens today's session going into our SPY. On the ES chart, again, Mike covered this in pretty good detail, right? Mike, what was your supply on ES?
7,000.
7,000 flat. But did you notice on ES, it's not just 7,000, right? It's 7,000 ES, which is obviously the psych level. But did you see there's also the previous all-time highs is 7,010?
Yeah, 7,010. It wicked above a few times, but if you look at the daily, it never actually closed above 7,000.
It's interesting. On the daily chart, you're saying on the daily chart, it's never closed above 7,000. I want to see that for a second. I want to take a look at that on the ES chart because I did not see that. He's absolutely right. Look at that. So if you look at what he's talking about, right? This chart has never closed. The ES chart has never closed above 7,010. Technically, it did tap 7,000. It actually hasn't closed above 7,000 either. But you're right. Obviously, double top wick over here at the 7,000 level, and then 7,010 is where we rejected on that Thursday session, the 30th of October, and then as well as the 29th. So interesting to see that. But again, here on the ES chart, you can see that your supply is not just, for me, it's not just 7,000. It's all the way between 7,010 and 7,000. It's about a $10 range here in ES chart. And if you look at SPY, just back to SPY for a second, it's the same thing here, guys. It's just 693. I wonder if you do the conduct adjustment. No, it's the same thing. It doesn't change it. But just be aware of that, guys. That's all we have today. Big supply above here in ES chart. On SPY, it's there as well. 693, okay? What about the QQQ?
QQQ. Yeah, so this is actually the short that I took yesterday, guys, off of 693. I got stopped on the first trade for an 8% loss, and then I re-entered, and the trade did 100%. It was just that 623 supply. We rejected the same level on Friday. So I got short when I saw failure on the 1030 candle, and it rejected from 623 all the way back down to 619. So today, Qs are a little bit weaker, right? Qs are gapping down while SPYs are actually gapping up a little bit. They're trying to push above previous day high. Qs are a bit weaker. And the same thing here. Like, I don't want to be the guy who takes a long over 624, because if you zoom out to the hourly, you'll see we have big supply at 625. So I don't, I'm not interested in that $1 range between 624 and 625. I would be looking for failures if we get to 625, which is also my level on NASDAQ, 25,700.
Yeah. Mike, are you wearing a button down? Is that a button down I see over there?
No, man, it's a jacket.
The chat's making fun of you. The chat's making fun of you. They're asking what you're dressed up for. That was
Oh
hilarious.
man, I just took a shower and I feel good.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. I love the banter in the chat though. It was funny. Anyway, so on the Q's chart, everything Mike's saying is in alignment with me, right? So basically, his short. Where did you actually short? I think you shorted
622.50.
622.50. So Mike's short was right over here. Right? So he shorted pretty much the highs yesterday's session. But then again, you can see it too, Mike. You see that the 1110, 1105 pullback long. You had a level there too, the 619.50, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so this is where buyers stepped up, right? So you had some supply rejections come in at highs, but then buyers stepped up back at lows. And I think, this is the thing is when you're studying uptrends, we look at the highs too, right? But the biggest thing in an uptrend is to see where those lows form. And I really think it's important that this happened yesterday, right? This candle right here at 619.50 was everything I needed to know around the afternoon to say, hey, the market's still uptrending, right? And again, remember we draw these things out. And I'm not talking smack about like for me, Mike and I were both short the exact same point yesterday. It was a great short, but I understand this, right? On an uptrend, you have a high, you have a low, 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 right? And when you analyze this, when you're studying uptrends, particularly, you're focusing more so on the lows, right? For me, when I study uptrends, I focus on the lows. Where I'm studying downtrends, I'm focusing on those highs. And right now, the high, or really yesterday's session, formed at 623 here in Qs, but the low conveniently formed at the exact same level that we had to form it at, right? It was the lows of Monday, the lows of Tuesday, it was the level from that Monday session, and it was the pre-market high from Tuesday. This demand hold here at 619.50 now tells me what? It tells me the low in the market. What makes the market an uptrend here in Qs is if we are above 619.50. And that is why, if you remember what I said about 5 minutes ago here at SPY chart, right? I said that on the SPY chart, the biggest thing I'm watching for pullback longs is going to be 689. The reason why is because in order for us to be considered an uptrend, I would want to see the market hold 689. If we fail below 689, obviously, right, you can still short below 691, right? Shorting below 691, you can short back into 689. But the real failure, the flip in the market, which would cause us to flip from a bull market back to a bear market, would be under 689. And back to Qs for a second, what am I talking about? What am I saying? I'm saying that if QQQ breaks below 619.50, this is going to turn into a short, right? And it's going to turn into a very aggressive short, in which case we can look for a move back down into probably the lower 600s, right? Which would be an excellent trade to the downside. But as of right now, the market's still sustaining its higher lows, right? You can still see the trend in the market still maintaining higher. So let's see what happens today. But it is interesting, Mike. Did you notice this too? The fact that SPY is gapping up technically this morning, but then Qs are gapping down.
Yeah, I mentioned that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that the reason why is because you still have Apple, right? You still have the Apple weakness. You still have that NVIDIA failures. So maybe there is a short today here in Qs, right? If you're going to focus short on any ticker today, maybe it is Qs. If QQQ can break below 619.50 and you see some of those tech names begin to sell, then that's where you get the short today here on the QQQ. Okay. Mike, I'm going to let you start off the equities.
Yeah, my top watch today, Amazon. It was my top watch yesterday too, and we were kind of muppets and we missed the entry, but it is again my top watch today for a pullback demand bounce. If you draw the fib from yesterday low to yesterday high, it actually the 61.8 level lines up with the high from Friday. So the fib is 236, Friday's high is 235.50. That's where, if we get back to 236 today on Amazon, that's where I want to take long.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. How many of you guys caught Amazon yesterday? Did you guys trade Amazon yesterday? How many of you guys actually traded Amazon yesterday? Because that to me is the most. This was probably the best chart from yesterday's session. I mean, our trade on SPY and Qs were great. I think Rav's trade on Nvidia was great too. But if you look back at the actual the best value name yesterday was Amazon, and we were right on this one. Right? We spoke about this on Tuesday's session. I think Mike was also talking about this in the morning watch list as well. The best trade yesterday was the break and hold above that 234, right? And if you look at this chart, the reason why these charts are so great is because when you enter a trade that's just like this, all you do is by the time it begins working in your favor, let's just say you get one R, right? So let's just say you entered long on this candle right here, okay? And your stop loss is somewhere here, okay? Let's just say 233 flat. By the time you get 1R, which is right there, and you maybe take some trims at 1R, so you're up 10, 12, 15%, okay? At that point, all you do is just turn on EMA and you just ride this to the moon. And if you look back at this chart, you wouldn't have taken any, you wouldn't have gotten stopped out at anything until 238, right? I mean, just an insane move. I mean, five deltas on this chart, basically. Five deltas holding EMAs all the way up. And that to me is what a great trade is, right? That to me is a fantastic trade. Now, if you go back today to look at what Mike's saying in terms of his read today here at Amazon, it's absolutely right. If you look back at this chart, what does Amazon typically do when it has big days day one? Big day one, day two pullback, right? Big downside day one, pullback day two, right? The market tends to, here, it would be an example of that being different here. Obviously, you can see big downside, then big downside. But in most cases, Amazon doesn't move in straight lines. Amazon is not like a Tesla. Amazon is not like an IWM. Amazon is not like a SoFi or even a Palantir, right? Amazon tends to see pullbacks. Now, when you look at Amazon today and you want to go long in Amazon, you need to kind of slap yourself a little bit, pinch yourself a little bit, right? What you need to do here is you need to look for a pullback long. And the pullback longs are two spots for me today. The first spot is 239, right? This is a very important level. I know it's a little bit different from what Mike was talking about, but it's a very important level here. It's that 239 level. It's the previous highs here from the December highs, right? It's the previous December highs, and we're right back above it. And we're potentially seeing the most beautiful break and retest of that level for an upside move. That's the first play I have here on Amazon. As 239 holds, it's going to rip. If it fails below 239, I believe Mike is absolutely correct at that level here. It's 235.50. That's the exact thing I'm watching today as well. So 235.50 as a pullback long. The fib boys are going crazy because they're doing exactly what Mike's talking about, right? They're running the fib low from that Tuesday session. They're running it to the highs, and they're going to say, well, that lines up pretty nicely. And this is where they'll be longing Amazon today. So absolutely, Amazon 235.50 to 236 today, top watch. But likewise, I am still watching 239 as well. So keep that on the back burner. I'm watching both trades today as well here. Okay. So let's move on, guys. Let's go over a few other names. What's next? Let's go out. Let's go over something completely different, Mike. Let's go over Apple.
Apple, yeah. Apple's the weakest name on the market right now.
Yes.
Very, very weak over the past, really the past month almost. Yeah. Since December 2nd, it started selling off. It really hasn't seen much strength since then. I do think it'll bounce soon. We are about to retest a very big daily level. If you guys look from December of last year, actually, 260 is a huge level. 260 is big. I would not be short into 260 at all. Okay. However, if we did get a pop back into that previous little supply area around 265, 266, that's where you guys could look for shorts. But this is a chart. Honestly, 260, 259 is where I'd be looking for longs as for a relief bounce.
Yeah. So if you guys remember from yesterday's session, we spoke about that head and shoulders, right? And Mike, you can see it too. I don't know if you can see my chart right now, but you have that little left shoulder, the head, right? Right shoulder. And then now we got the neckline break yesterday. So what did we say yesterday? We said 265 key level. Don't short into 265. But if you break below 265, what is it? It's a short, right? And that's what caused the downside yesterday. And if you look at this, not only did we, this is why I think this is so nice too. Part of the reason why I went short on the chart on SPY was because I saw this happening on Apple. And you could use some of these beta names as a proxy when you're trading SPY. And if you look at this chart, where was a short yesterday in Apple? I'll tell you exactly. You guys know. I don't have to tell you. You see it right there, right there. It's literally where's Waldo right now, and Waldo has a huge, maybe like a yellow colored afro with a red shirt. Okay, it's right there. It's staring at you. It's saying I'm right here. And this is the short at 265 perfectly. Big downside move. That was a short yesterday's session here in Apple. Now, if you look back at the chart now and you say, where's this chart going to? Well, it's probably going to 258, right? It's probably going to 258. That's where it's going to. 258, 260, the same level Mike's talking about. This whole band over here is where this chart's probably going into. Do you want to be a short back into these previous highs over here? Probably not, right? So at this point, if you are short, you're targeting just basically $1 or $2 lower, and that's really it. And you've got your downside move. So keep that in mind here in Apple. That's where it is, okay? So if you're shorting today, 265 shorts. If you're longing today, 260 to 258. I think, to be honest with you, I actually like that idea too, Mike, is going long on Apple.
It's a huge daily level.
Yes, absolutely. You see it here. This is what Mike's talking about. If we got this today and I see some hold there, I would look for longs right here. Right in this spot is where I'd be looking for longs. If we fail below 258, this is a dead fish, right? It's a beached whale. Don't go long, right? But as of right now, 258 is your best pullback long. So in a bull trending market, weaker name, 258 holds. This could be a really nice long today, right? This could be eventually. Here's the thing: is eventually Apple, the weaker name in the market, shifts strong. Now, it may not happen instantly. It's going to take time for that to happen. but eventually it does happen because what happens here is you get all the people who short Apple. They become overconfident in their shorts. They start building too much pressure here at the highs, too much pressure short, and eventually when it reclaims, it squeezes, right? That's why you get a short squeeze. And right now, there are a lot of shorts built up on Apple, right? And so if it does begin to reclaim, this could turn to a long. So as of right now, your short worked out nicely, but I think it's a good idea to start retiring those short side ideas here, short side biases on Apple, because even though it is a weaker name, it's tapping big demand and it's made them move down lower. Okay, let's move on, guys. Let's go over a few other names. Let's go over Nvidia. Nvidia, do you have anything here on Nvidia, Mike?
Yeah, it's just been range bound between 193 and 186. So really, we just have to wait and see. Like if it breaks down 186, we can go short. If it breaks above 193, we can go long.
I like that idea. 186, 193. That's what I have here. I was gonna say the same thing here on Nvidia. AMD. AMD chart is incredibly weak, right? What did we say in AMD? We were so right about this, right? So on Monday's session, we were longing here. We got out. We were like, you know what? We were just wrong. Monday's it's just not holding our demand. And then on Tuesday's session, we said if we're under 225, we're gonna go lower. And this was the exact right bias. It fell back aggressively and sold off. There was no reason to long AMD yesterday under that high. And the reason why it's so important is because you can see it's a very big inflection point. So all of the longs that were trapped up on that Monday session, they got stopped out on Tuesday, causing the downside move. And this is why this is a prime example, right? Relatively strong names can become overlonged, right? Relatively weak names can become overshorted. And when you get the reclaims or stops, right, it tends to result in big downside or big upside. And so AMD sold off very aggressively under 225. At this point, it's still particularly weak. Where does it go to? It's right back at lows now, right? So it's right back at lows. It's anyone's game now. It's anyone's game at this point. There's no bias right now. It's anyone's game. We're back at 213. If 213 breaks, we'll see move down lower back into around these lows over here on 206. So that's the next level here on AMD. Moving on, SMH. Nothing here to talk about here at SMH. SMH is still strong. So it's actually a very discrepant because usually when we see NVIDIA strong, we see SMH strong. Usually AMD is strong, SMH is strong. Right now you're seeing the exact opposite. SMH is strong, but NVIDIA and AMD are both weak. So it's kind of poses the question, what is strong within the SMH? And if you just scan around the market, you see other names are holding a lot better. So Avgo weak, but MU very strong. MU is one of the strongest names. You look at Intel, INTC, right? INTC also particularly strong. So you have some of your US stocks, so US chip stocks holding pretty well here. MRVL weak. So it's kind of crazy though because TSM is TSM strong? No, TSM is weak. So it's probably one of the most the most diverged SMH I've ever seen. Because usually you see some alignment with NVIDIA, or NVIDIA usually dictates where SMH goes, but recently it's not been the case. Okay, let's go over Tesla. Mike, do you have anything here in Tesla?
Tesla, I'm not really watching today. 435 is the only level I have, but I'm not trading it today.
435. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
You're right. It's probably right. I mean, to me, it reminds me of Apple's chart, right? It's a relatively weaker name. It's been weak for a while. Does it set up? Does the relatively weak name that's been weak for a while? Does it set up a long here eventually? I think
Maybe if it reclaims 435 and holds, but I'm really not watching it today.
to be honest with you, I would say 450. Right. That's where I think 450. If it can reclaim 450, that's where I become interested in longs again. But for now, I just have no interest in longing it. It just
Yeah.
there's just so much chop here. This is the dune. Remember we said a while ago we were in the dunes. This is the dunes here. This whole area is the dunes here on Tesla. I mean, obviously, if 450 can build, we can see some upside. But as of right now, we're just trading in the dunes. This could be a little head and shoulders as well. For me, I don't really have a good read here on Tesla, so I'll leave it alone. Let's move on. Let's go over a few other tickers. Let's go over Google. Google, same idea, guys. Nothing's happening here in Google. A little bit of a choppy chart, right? When you see charts look like this, they're flatlining. You know, you stay away from it. When a chart is flatlining, right? When your heart monitor is reading like this, it's not looking too good. Okay, so let's leave that alone. What else do we have, Mike? What am I missing?
Palantir.
Palantir.
Palantir, we took in a really nice short on this a couple of weeks ago off of 195. Sold back into demand 168. That, if you guys remember, 168, 170 is huge back from October. That was a huge demand. That's where we bounced. Where would I re-enter shorts on this? If we get the pop back into 188 to 190, right? That's the same supply. It's also the fib boy level, right? If you draw it from the peak high where I shorted to the low, 187, right, is the 61.8. So 188 to 190 big supply. That's where I look to re-enter shorts.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Well, all right. I think we could end it here. We went over a lot of different things today, guys. Thank you, Mike, for joining in. Everyone say thanks, Mike. Thank you for hopping on with us. We'll see you next Wednesday. Mike is gonna be on with us every Wednesday for 2026. I'm gonna make him do it. Anyway,
Yes.
I'll see you guys on live.
All right, guys. See you later. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys.